So I've mentioned a few of the different treatment models. The 12-step AA model, the rational recovery model, the life system approach, or the life process approach, moderation management, eclectic approaches, aversion therapy, and then there's no treatment at all. And did you know that statistically more people kick their addiction habits, overcome their life-dominating habits without treatment? More people do it without treatment than with treatment. Now I want to make a disclaimer here. This videotape is for Christians. It's for born-again Christians who want to know how to get victory over and freedom from life-dominating sinful habits. This is not from the perspective of a substance abuse treatment provider. I am not a substance abuse treatment provider. I am not trying to offer you substance abuse treatment. I'm not trying to offer you addiction treatment. I am trying to present this subject from a biblical perspective, and I am giving you background. So if you went out and got a DUI or a DWI, and you've been court mandated to jump through a bunch of hoops, then you did the crime, you do the time. Don't use anything I say here as an excuse to think you can just neglect your legal obligations. If the judge told you you had to go to treatment, then you go to treatment. And don't use anything that you hear on here as an excuse, because you got yourself into this mess, you get yourself out. You know, I was talking to a guy recently who never really drank very much in his life, and he went to a Christmas party a few years ago. And while he was at the Christmas party, some people encouraged him to have a few drinks, and he kind of resisted a little bit at first, but then as the night wore on, he took one drink and then another drink and then another drink, and lo and behold, on the way home from the Christmas party, one cold December evening, he got pulled over by the police, and they could tell he was inebriated. They had him do a breathalyzer, and he was over the limit, and he got a DWI. So this guy ended up being court ordered to go to a bunch of AA groups. He had to go to AA groups a couple nights a week for like 6 months. He paid a bunch of fines. So he goes to the AA people, and the AA people, he tells a story to them. He says, you know, I've never really drank much in my whole life, but I went out this one night, got drunk, got a DWI, and now here I am. And they said, well, disease, you're powerless. And he said, baloney, no, I'm not. And they, oh, you're in denial. Well, I've gone my whole life and I haven't drank. I drank that one night and I haven't drank. So you're a dry drunk. Disease, you're powerless. You know, I'm sorry, one size doesn't fit all, and not everybody, you know, this is what happens. But listen, if that's you, let that have some deterrent value. So what I told this guy was, well, you know what? The 12 steps are a lot of baloney. They're not biblical. They're not scriptural. They're not Christian in any way, shape, or form. It's doubtful whether the founders of AA were Christians. But you know, you got yourself into this mess, and if you don't like sitting through 12-step meetings, then let that be a deterrent to you. And the lesson is, the moral of the story is, don't ever get drunk and get behind the wheel of a car again. So that's the value to a lot of that treatment, is it has deterrent value. But does it work? Well, data is very hard to come by, especially with AA. It's very hard and very slippery in terms of getting actual raw data to tell you in any kind of a reliable or valid way whether Alcoholics Anonymous really works very well. Now, I'll say that I think that people do go to AA and they do kick the habit. You know, I was in a church once that I pastored down in Denver, Colorado when I was in seminary back in the early 80s, and we had an Alcoholics Anonymous group. We allowed them to meet in our church one night a week, and they donated like $60 a month to the church, and we would have done it for free, but they insisted on paying. They had an open meeting down in the basement of the church, and there were upwards of 50 people that attended one night a week this AA open meeting. And there were people there. I was impressed. I have to tell you, I dropped into some of those meetings, and I was impressed. And some of the things I saw were, first of all, a group of like-minded people. I mean, everybody there had to say, I'm Joe Blow, I'm an alcoholic. Everybody there believed that they had a disease. Everybody there believed that they were powerless over the disease. Everybody there was committed to, staying on the wagon and not getting drunk and not, practicing their addiction. So it was a group of like-minded people who had common goals and common objectives. There was support and acceptance. They were non-judgmental. They accepted one another. It was a place where you had a voice. You could speak. You could talk about your experiences. There was support outside the group. Everybody had a sponsor. So if they felt the urge to go out and tie one on at midnight, they could call their sponsor, and their sponsor was available 24/7. So they had a buddy system outside the group. Another thing they did was they encouraged the use of outside natural supports to help you keep you accountable and keep you on a short leash. And through that process, they instilled hopefulness and motivation in one another. Now, my guess is that when treatment works, whether it be AA, whether it be rational recovery, whether it be the life process approach, these things are going to be present. You're going to have, and I'm not trying to defend AA here. I'm not trying to say that their principles are true, but the people believe they're true. And they all meet together with this common frame of reference. They're like-minded, they're going the same direction, they're together, they're in the same boat. They all want the same thing. They accept each other, they listen to each other, they support one another. That's a good thing. And I think the reason why people run off to these kinds of groups is because the church doesn't offer the kinds of small group help that people need when they're struggling with life-dominating habits. So I think that there are some things we can learn. And I learned a great deal from watching and observing in these AA meetings. Now again, are the 12 steps Christian or biblical? I don't think they are. And by the way, I'm going to grab the 12 steps. I got them written down here. I'm going to read them to you. As we close out this video, I'm going to read the 12 steps so I can prep for our next video. I'm going to actually do a little bit of a examination of the 12 steps of AA. But here are the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction. Our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. Step 4, made a searching and fearless inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of the persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them. Step 9, made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. And then step 12, having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And we're going to get into these 12 steps from a biblical perspective in the next video.